720p cameras, right?
Yeah, yeah, but the camera quality right now is not dictated, right? Because I'm re-rendering this whole thing. So your video originally is 720p, but it's a small section of the entire thing.
Okay.
And we are live, by the way. We are live. Hello, Janta. Say hi in the chat. Sabchangasi, can you hear us? Can you hear Dhvanil? Dhvanil, say hi to the chat.
Hello, hi.
So we have tons of questions to go through with Dhwanil today. We have literally prepared like so. Dhwanil and like I met like long, ancient back. It's been
Seven,
ages.
7 years, no? 7 years or so.
Yeah, and like it's almost gonna be a decade. Can you believe it, Dhwanil? Like we're gonna know each other since a decade.
I'm feeling old.
that the genuine it's genuinely on your face. Like I could see it, the shock of it hitting you. Sayed Numan is here, Ritesh Patel is here, Adhir Pandit is here. Hello, welcome. Sab Changasi, can you hear Dhwanil and me? Dhaval is here. Hello, folks. Hello. Good to see you here. Good to see you here. Today we're gonna talk to Dhwanil about his life, his work so far, his the magic he keeps doing, and a rare creature usually not seen online. So brought to you by this channel, specially exclusively.
Trademark King Siddharth.
I finally bullied Dhanil into agreeing to it. Arnab is here, Yash is here, Atmiya is here, and Udit Shakya is also here. So good to see you folks here. Good to see you folks. So
Nice. Is war cry, Sab Changasi.
yeah, Sab Changasi is like you remember like Mr. Sahib, the great leader of the country. I can't even take the name. Not like there enough to at the level enough to went to US Indian gathering and said Sab Changasi. So that is where that comes from. Sab Changasi, like can you hear everything? It's a Punjabi thing which basically means like everything was fine.
Oh, so nice.
So Bangalore design scenes. Actually, Dhwanil is not Bangalore design scenes strictly, right? Dhwanil has been Guwahati design scenes. Dhwanil has been Delhi's design scenes, Bombay design scenes, and now Dhwanil is Bangalore design scenes since a while,
Yeah. But I think Bangalore is the favorite,
right?
like compared to all places.
I
Yeah.
I can't imagine living anywhere else after living in Bangalore, man. Like can't imagine
Mm-hmm.
anywhere in country. Bombay was one place which I would like because of people, but like the weather is shit and the traffic. Like you have to go up to places to do things.
I've forgotten how it is like to step outside. So, matlab, like, I feel hypothetically, if you put me in any sort of like closed four boundary ka space
Right.
and give by food, light, and other things, then probably like even if you put like air conditioner and other things, like every place is the same.
True. I mean, for lockdown purposes, but when I step out of my balcony, like the weather is nice. I don't need to switch on
Uh,
AC. That part I don't miss. I would miss a lot in Bombay.
yeah, that is true.
So, folks, in between, like if you have questions for Dhwanil, feel free to, of course, throw in. If you want to accelerate and bribe me to ask Dhwanil that question, you know what to do. And we're gonna get started with my first question to you, Dhwanil, like which I've always wondered. What got you into design? Like, how did you get into design? Why design at all?
Okay, nice. So, I mean, I wish I had like a better answer to this, but to be very honest, it just happened by chance. So like since like till 12th standard, I was pretty much like all the other people or all the other students, right? Like learn physics, chemistry, math, do JE, do science and all that. And I really wanted to become an mechanical engineer, or let's say like a more specialized thing would be like an aerospace engineer. But I gave my JEE. I didn't get a very good rank. So pretty much like in my preference list, there were 33 things literally above design. But I was very sure that I'm going to get only design. Uh, like those were the things which, like, if something extremely rare happened, I could have gotten. But yeah, and usme bhi like design was specifically because of like two three reasons. One was that uh, it sounded cool. It was at a cool place, Guwahati. It's super remote. Like no one is there. It'll be a good place to spend 4 years.
Right.
And the other thing I did, I found up all the people who are sort of studying there, right? So there were a couple of folks. They were in their third year, and like I just messaged them on Facebook randomly, ki like, hey, how is this? What are you doing, etc., etc. And I saw that all of them were somewhere in Europe. They were doing their internships.
Right.
So like there was this one guy who was in Netherlands. There was somebody else who was somewhere else, and like I felt like, wow, this is so cool. And I realized that uh, this is nice. I mean, I didn't like dig too much. I saw places like Asina Yevo, and that was
Right.
good. So that's how I just ended up there. Like it's super rare. I didn't intend to do that. I didn't plan to do that. But once I got in there, I really loved the entire sort of design thing, right? The creation and building and the other parts of design which come in. So yeah.
Interesting. So, what was in your preference order before design?
Oh, it was all. So it was like it was literally everything, right? It was computer science, mechanical, and aerospace. So there were these three things of like at multiple places like IT, Delhi, Bombay, blah blah blah, and like my rank was around 5,000 or something, right? So literally I wouldn't get anything,
Right.
but still like a normal person, I just filled all of them. But yeah, but I was pretty sure I was gonna get design, and I mean, I talked to a lot of people. Even talked with some of the professors there. So yeah.
Interesting. How difficult would you say is the to get into IT Guwahati for like and or IT for design, and Guwahati especially has like a history for known for being around design as well, right? For to study design as well.
I think it's been there for like I think 18 years or so. I mean, probably I might be really wrong. I might be wrong,
Right.
but like upwards of a decade, I guess. And so like us time pe things were happening differently. They took in kids directly through JEE.
Hmm.
So you given like you study physics, chemistry, math, you given those exams, and then you come there and then you do graphic design. So it's completely random, but that's how that's how they took people up. They have changed now. They have, I think they have seed, and like even IIT Bombay has a bachelor's course.
Right.
So they take in students after who cleared seed, and I've heard that it is much more competitive
Hmm.
now
Hmm.
than it was before. Because like people are actually, they want to do design, they study design, they prepare for their entrance exam.
Right.
Like somebody also actually like there like coaching classes which prepare you for seed.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
like that was super surprising because I haven't kept in touch with what's going on
There's
here.
tons of them. There's tons of them.
So hey, and yeah, I don't know like the specifics. I don't know if they have like an interview or not, but it's way different like back when we were there.
Right, and you happen to be the first designers, actually one of the first designers, who has like a design degree, and a first designer who has a direct related designish degree where you have studied design as a formal subject, and not just
Oh, okay.
so, so.
But I wouldn't rate that study very high, but it's
But that's what I want to talk about. Like, like what do you think is value of design education as per your experience? Like,
yeah. So I think like I can like speak well for Guwahati because I've been there for 4 years. I can't speak so much for other places. I've met people there. I've been to the campuses, but I don't know in like specifics.
mhm,
Guwahati mein, I think like the first year was entirely a waste, right? Because you have to study all the other subjects,
foundation
and
year
like
types.
exactly, which is such a useless thing, right? I literally wasted that entire year doing whatever, like doing or studying things which I didn't want to, and then like sucking at it, right? I had like extremely low GPA for that first year and everything. And in general, I think the classes or the subjects that are taught there are pretty sort of, they are outdated in a
Hmm.
sense, right? Because like as I told you, right, the course or the design like curriculum and everything was founded long ago.
Hmm.
And like now that you're seeing like, you know, laptops and phones and VR and AI and ML and all these other things coming up. So I mean, I'm pretty sure the professors there wouldn't have a very good handle at these things
Right.
as well. So like you can literally feel that this is outdated. Like you're studying like impressionism wale paintings and like art theories and all this, and like I don't understand like how is that relevant to what I'm gonna do. uh,
Wow.
and it was actually pretty sad because like you like there used to be assignments this way, like you have to prepare, let's say like a 30-minute 20-minute bola on futurism as an art movement and how it affected Italy and pata nahi, France or wherever it was, right? Which was like so weird, but we had to do all that.
It's
uh,
like a BA thing.
so so like I think this is one thing I missed out, but Guwahati ka design course, it's a very generic course.
Oh, okay.
So it's a bachelor's degree. So they have bunch of like graphic design stuff. They have some courses around like physical product design. There's some courses around UX usability and everything. So it's like a khichdi of everything, right?
Right.
And like it's a good thing in a way. Like if you're not sure what you want to do, then it's a great thing because you go, you experience things, and then you can decide what you want to do.
Right.
But if you are like कि मुझे यही करना है, then it's a little sort of time waste,
Hmm.
because you have to like do all the other things.
Right.
And उसमें भी I think like in general, like more than the course, more than what you study, more than the workshops and everything, I think the good thing is that you have like incredibly smart people around.
Right.
And because you have that filter for JEE, and now like you have seats, so you have people who are extremely interested in design, right?
Hmm.
Only they come in. So like you have that like amazing peer group who can sort of push you, and
Right.
like because of that, like that institute is well known in the design circles and other things. So there is that, which is actually pretty good. And I think compared to let's say like NID and NIFT and other places, uh, like the IIT Bombay and Guwahati, they have the like the added benefit, or maybe like the added like I don't know how you can put it, but you have the other engineering students around, right?
Hmm.
So, like, design is a subset of what it does, and it's a very small subset, right? Because, like, most of the things happening there would be like computer science and mechanical engineering and
Hmm. Right.
chemical chemistry and stuff. So, like, you can team up on projects with them. You can sort
Right.
of discover new things. You can understand. You can get on. Uh, yeah, so you can take electives and small courses and all that. So I think that was pretty fun.
Very interesting. I think I have a bunch of questions coming in. I think people asking how was your UC preparation. I think Dhvanil just covered that back then that wasn't the case. They were not those examinations. They have recently cropped up. So today, like and Dhvanil, I am guessing over time you've worked with like designers who have studied formally design, and you worked with self-taught designers as well, right? In your opinion, and this question I get a lot, especially from aspiring students and people looking out, like, is being self-taught designer enough or not, or what kind of degree do I get? Like, in your opinion, how have you seen having a degree or not having a degree of formal education and certification design affect your career?
I think, I mean, like I haven't thought too much about it, but like from my personal experience, like at Playment, we have worked with like a few designers. We hired a few designers. Uh, I've seen a lot of designers who are sort of doing things, building things in Bangalore, in Delhi, other places, right? So I honestly don't think like having a degree,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it is a must thing to have, especially in this like time and age. Uh, but at the same time, I mean, yeah, I don't think that is important at all, to be very honest. And like if you're somebody who is like committed and who can sort of learn things on their own, there are like hundreds and thousands of resources around, right? You have like YouTube, and you can just Google something. You have so many ebooks and courses and other things. So like, to be very honest, like it doesn't, like, so that you also haven't studied design formally anywhere, right?
Right.
And you would sort of like there's nothing, like nobody comes up to you and says that, hey, you don't have a design degree, so
Mm.
that's why you might not be a great designer.
Right.
uh, I don't think that is like, if people do that, I think that's just gatekeeping, to be
Hmm.
very honest, because there's nothing that was taught to us there which you can't learn anywhere else.
Right.
Like very frankly. So uh and then if like there are some other things, like these network effects, and you get to meet and work with these amazing people. uh so I think that also you can sort of replicate somehow. Like if you go to a lot of meetups, you can
Hmm.
build relationships and friendships with people over the internet. So, like, to be very honest, I don't think it's something that is absolutely required.
Hmm. Right. Makes sense. So that is, I think, an interesting perspective that I agree with as well. Like, for it some parts are harder, of course, if you don't are not in a structured environment. But just because in a structured environment also doesn't guarantee success. Like literally after your first initial interview, maybe most people are not gonna ask you like, what were you studying or where did you study.
Uh, I think it provides a good sort of jumping, or what do you say, like
Launching
a
pad.
good launching pad. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But launching pad, but uske baad, like whatever you do, it's up to you, right? Like after 4 or 5 years, like it doesn't even matter.
Right.
Like like maybe after 2 years, it doesn't even matter.
Right. And after that, this naturally, like when you finish your design education or while you're at it, comes internships. And that's something that I've always admired about you, like your unique streak of picking these internships, like WikiMedia, Cobalt. I think there was a startup in the Instamojo, right? That's where we met. Like, how did you pick, and how, like, how were you thinking about what was happening in your mind when you were thinking about picking these, because startup world is vast, right? You can apply anywhere and you have IT tag, people will pay attention. So how do you pick sort of, and why like Wikimedia, which was and what were like these things about?
Sure, sure, sure. So, I mean, to be very honest, like as you can see, right, like I was not very happy with the things that were taught at Guwahati, right,
Right,
and what was going on there. So I realized that the only way for me to learn new things and do new things would be internships.
right,
So these 3 skip breaks, which come in between uh, the stuff that is taught there, which I can utilize very well.
right.
So, like first year, I realized that I have to intern somewhere. So I just applied at literally any places that can get me. So this was when I interned at a small design studio in Mumbai,
Mm-hmm.
and uske baad second year I realized that I need to intern at a startup
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in Bangalore, or so I mostly applied at places in Bangalore,
Right,
but then I also applied at Instamojo,
right.
and like those were the days where I used to write like really long, cheesy intro emails and cover letters. So that was during that, and I think you or Sampad or somebody like saw that, and then we had a quick call. Us time pe like literally like I didn't know any, like we weren't really taught UI design, and I didn't also know UI design, right?
Right.
And then, like, to be very honest, all the internships I've done, like I have like not done them super well. Like I've sucked at them, to be very honest, right? Like I didn't achieve my expectations, or maybe like to a certain degree their expectations were achieved, were not achieved. So I mean, I've always like highballed them, but that is also good because that is where you learn the most, right? Like I remember like when we interned at Instamojo, like it was completely like different than what you would expect a typical design internship to be, right? Because
Right.
we also did software development, and
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
but when I was designing landing pages, I was also expected to do the HTML, CSS, and then push it out, right?
yeah.
Which is
Today,
something very
today
unusual.
I would get angry at myself for asking you to do that, but yeah, we did that. Those were the days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, so that is like an uncomfortable situation, and like that's where I learned a lot, right? Because like the things you learn, the things you sort of see, I could do this, I could have done this,
Hmm.
I should know this. Like that is what you take back and you learn from. Same with sort of Wikimedia, right? Like uske baad then, like after this, I realized that I want to intern in the Bay Area in SF. And what I did was I made like a huge, like I literally made like a huge Google sheet. I called it Angrezi intern. Yep, nee, I called it Videshi intern. And then I made two sheets. One was for academic interns and the other one was industrial interns. I
Right.
wanted to do an I wanted to do an industrial intern,
Right.
but I was like, yeah, नहीं होता तो कोई university तो ले लेगी.
Right. Right.
Uh, then what I did was like I went AngelList पे देखा कि top companies कौन सी है, like Google, Facebook, ये. Literally, I made a list of 200 companies. I sort of segregated them into like big companies, small companies, medium companies,
Wow.
startups. And फिर what I did was like किसी के like if they have like the job landing pages, so that is good. Uh, Usually ऐसा होता है like for internships they give out J1 visas, so that
Right.
is easy to get
Hmm.
as compared to like a full-time role.
Right.
And what I did was I found like product designers at all these places, or फिर I would mail them. Like I would take like 10 companies at once. I would mail each of those product designers. Like, hey, can you get me? And then अगर वो reply नहीं करते, एक week बाद I'll mail them again. If they don't, then I'll email like senior product designer. If they don't, then I would email design lead.
Literally
And
escalating.
yeah. And like essentially I didn't know it at the time, right? But it's like drip emails, right? It's drip campaign because you're emailing them once, no reply, next week, no reply, next week, no reply, escalate. So
Right.
I did it for 50 companies or so. And
Wow.
then yeah, but I had like a plenty of time, and it was like and I literally didn't sit for like companies which came in like Amazon, Microsoft, they used to come in for campus internships. So
Right.
I didn't sit for them because I wanted to just like go outside.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly this thing worked, because there was some project which I did, which was around visualizing football data scraped from Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
So the Wikimedia is the non-profit which owns and operates Wikipedia
Right.
and the other wiki. So then like the person there who's the UX leader, director of design there, he noticed and he's like, hey, this is interesting. And they essentially created a role for this, right? And like they didn't have interns. So then they created like a data visualization intern. And like I used to fight with them that, hey, increase the stipend because they're a non-profit. So like they gradually increased it a little bit. It was just enough for me to break even there.
Right.
He like fund my travels and stay and everything. But it was super insane. And I like the stuff I did there. I was working on tools for their communication team. So like after anything happens, let's say like Dhoni retired, right?
Right.
So like his Wikipedia page will see a lot of edits, and there'll be
Right.
hundreds of people viewing that and all that. They'll see a spike in edits,
Mm-hmm.
and like those sort of things. Like people don't see Wikipedia as an evolving thing. They see it as an hai site hai,
Right.
internet pe hai, an encyclopedia.
Right.
So like the communications team wanted to sort of put that out, right? Ki this is an evolving sort of creature which we
Right.
have created.
Right.
So uske liye I created some tools so that they can sort of get graphs and charts using their APIs and
Right.
then share it on Twitter, etc., etc. So yeah, that was there. I mean, like even there, like I think I probably highballed. Like I had too much expectations from myself, and I think even they did. But like all in all, probably to a certain degree, I wasn't able to deliver all of that as well. But it was fun because I learned a lot of things on the way.
Right.
Was doing like design, development, and everything, and even like product management for that particular little project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very fascinating. That and like now you would know, Dhvanil, that most internships are designed that way. That it's you take up enough because you're excited, and you're given enough because you're excited. That way
Uh-huh.
that you're gonna fulfill that, but you don't wanna discourage the intern, right? So you don't say like, okay, you're not gonna be able to do it. So you're like, yeah, whatever, you wanna do it, go for it. But then no, the company is pretty sure they're not depending on like the intern to deliver a lot of stuff,
That,
right?
but I think like looking back, like I owe a lot of the things I did, right? I got into development. I learned that because I saw you and Highway and other people at Instamojo like do like develop things, right?
Right.
And like there are these sparks which these internships give you,
Hmm.
which like looking back you can see that, hey, this propelled me to do this.
Hmm.
But I mean, like while you're in that internship, it's a nightmare because like you are like कि करना है ये करना है but नहीं हो रहा.
I'm so sorry. Retrospectively, I will send you money if I get any super chats tonight. I'll send you money for therapy, so you can have a therapy sessions around that. We'll do a fundraiser. Justice for OP in chat, folks. Justice for OP. Justice for Dhvanil. What am I saying? Justice for Dhvanil. And in chat, please. This brings me to, and also Janta, like where are the likes? Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. And one thing that I wanted to, naturally that after internship that comes, Vanil, is full-time jobs. And I'm guessing Sprinkler
Hmm.
was your, the first time like full experiment where you got into like real stuff. Um, what did you do there? And what did you learn? What was your biggest learning? And what was Sprinkler all about?
Sure, sure. So I'll just give a little background of what Sprinkler does and what it is. So it's an enterprise company which builds things on top of the social media APIs. So in a sense, like let's say you're Coca-Cola, right? And Coca-Cola uses social media in hundreds of ways. It can use it to generate insights. It can use it to run ads. It can use it to do customer support and
Mm-hmm.
all these things. So there are these use cases which are fulfilled through social media channels.
Right.
So it sort of builds software on top of it, and it sells like these individual modules or clouds, what they call it. So there would be an advertising cloud. So there would be like companies like Coca-Cola or uh, Airtel or somebody who would
Right.
use Sprinkler to generate to run ads at
Mm-hmm.
scale and get analytics and all that. So what I used to work on was this customer care cloud at Sprinkler, and what that thing does specifically is that it provides like if you're angry
Mm-hmm.
and if you're like Airtel wale bill nahi de rahe mera, like I paid but फिर भी like network बंद है all that. So you would like message them on Twitter, right?
Right.
And then you'd see a reply कि hey Dhwanil, so sorry you're facing this, please send me a DM, and
Right.
नीचे लिखा होगा
This is not the
dash,
experience we want you to face. Please DM us your DM so we can get back to you.
and there'll be a button where you click to फिर DM में फिर some Karthik will reply or something will happen, right? So like that entire thing is powered, like that sort of a thing is powered by companies like Sprinkler. So that
Right.
is what I had to design, the interface on the other end. Like a person in Airtel, what does he see?
Mm-hmm.
And you might email him, you might call them, and then you might Twitter pe gaaliyan dena, and
Right.
then you might send them message on Facebook Messenger, and that like for you it's all you, right? But for them they need to understand all this is came from Dhwanil,
Right. Right. Right.
and they need to have like a unified track ki like ye hua nahi hua, and then so essentially tools for that. And on the other end, that's a like there's a big hierarchy, right? There are customer support people, there are their managers, there are teams which are distributed, and then on an organizational level they need to like see who's performing well, what is the query resolution time, and like what is the sentiment and all these things.
Right.
So there's an entire pyramid behind your replies, right?
Right. Right. Right.
um, I used to design the interfaces for that. So they would have some sort of an interface where you would see like feed of messages
Mm-hmm.
or things that they have to resolve, and then the history, and then more details about that person, like Dhwanil ke bare mein ki Dhwanil ka ye plan hai, Dhwanil does this, Dhwanil uses so much internet, Dhwanil is a good customer, or
Right.
like something like that.
Right.
So I worked on that, and it was actually doing pretty well, and especially because things are moving online,
Right.
there's a huge demand for these sort of tools. So I worked on that, and I like working at a big company is pretty different, right, than Instamojo or pretty much any company I worked before.
Right.
So there are like like it's like it's like a big ship, right? Like you can't change the momentum very much,
Right.
but like do it sufficiently, then it has like a huge sort of tailwind behind it.
Mm-hmm.
uh, so like it's hard to move things, but if you sort of stick around, if you sort of on like the respect of your fellow sort of developers, designers and everything, and once you sort of start shipping incremental things, once you sort of gain their trust, and like then you can sort of bring about like normalish changes, but because the company is so huge, because they have so many customers, they are amplified.
Hmm.
So like whatever little change you would do, it's deployed to so many customer care teams across the world and all that.
Right.
um, but I realized that I didn't enjoy, and like the thing there is, the feedback loops are super long, right?
Hmm.
You would do something, it'll be put to development, it'll be put to testing, it'll gradually roll out, then people will complain. So like after some time you would see ki what happened, what's happening.
Right.
um, and it's just the nature of big companies, right? It's
Hmm.
like there's nobody to, like, it's just how things would go, like
Right.
uh, so I didn't enjoy that very much. Plus, like the amount of freedom that you would get, it's
Hmm.
obviously also curtailed because you are expected to sort of do something very well.
Hmm.
uh, and like that helps the company, right? So it, like I didn't have a lot of fun there, like towards the end. So then I decided that, hey, I want to work at some place which is much more smaller, and which would probably give me enough freedom to do different things apart from design, and have like extremely short feedback loops.
Right.
So that's when I joined Playment. But
Right.
yeah, I think we can stop. If you have any other questions about Sprinkler, I can.
I think that is the next logical thing I was gonna ask. Like, then you do another B2B stint, and but this time a very young startup,
Actually,
and that too YC, right? So, uh, tell us about that. What was Playments about, first of all?
sure, sure, sure. I think, yeah, this is actually interesting. I don't think I've ever worked on a B2C thing. Like Instamojo, no. Sprinkler, Playment, no. Cobalt, no. And like, I think Wikimedia, maybe I was designing for them internally, so
Which is
that's not really
also
counted.
B2B.
Ah, that's an interesting realization. Like
Realization number
even
2 on this live stream. Hit that like button.
yeah. So Asada, like after I quit Sprinkler, I was traveling for a bit, and I was like, uh, then I had to apply. Like I have to get a job, and I
Right.
I was also actually very sad being in Gurgaon. I
Oh,
was like, I want to go to
right.
Bangalore. And fair, what I did was, again, like I and then I think around that time Playment raised funding from Y Combinator. They went through that YC thing, and like one of the co-founders there, he's my college senior, so I just randomly messaged him ki, hey, I'm interested. And at that time they didn't have a designer, so it was a good thing. And then after, let's say, like a few calls back and forth, they're like, okay, this is nice. And like one very interesting thing I did there,
Mm-hmm.
which I just realized, was that before getting like a full-time job, I said, hey, I'll come there,
Mm-hmm.
you fund my flights, I'll
Right.
come there, I'll work with you for 7 days for
Right.
a week. And I don't need ACO or anything, I can stay with my friends,
Right.
but we'll work on a live problem, and
Right.
then it'll be better for you and it'll be better for me as well.
Right.
And it did that, and it was actually pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
um, and uske baad, then I sort of started working there full time.
Right.
uh, what Playment does is that, so essentially, to create artificial intelligence artificial intelligence systems
Mm-hmm.
or machine learning systems, you need a lot of data.
Right.
So to be like, to put it like very bluntly, you throw in a bunch of good data at it, key, do this, this is this, this is right, you
Right.
throw in a bunch of right examples at it,
Right.
and predicts things on its own
Right.
afterwards.
Right.
uh, so let's say, like, if you want to, if you wanted to sort of detect cats, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're given like 100,000 images of cats, with like boxes drawn around, like cat ka face here,
Right.
etc., etc. And it predicts ki, like, given an image, it'll predict if it is a cat or not, or where is the
Right.
cat in the image.
Right.
um, to do this, like, data is the bottleneck traditionally, like
Right.
till now, because yeah, so like algorithms are pretty much like released in the academia, and everybody knows, like there are not a lot of fine tuning, or there's not a lot of uh, scope for improvement there.
Right.
uh, but data is where all the sort of leverage comes in.
Right.
Data, and especially like how would you compute all of that.
Right.
So what happens is companies like, let's say, Apple, they have tons and tons of data. They have huge teams.
Right.
They would get like a sort of operation center in India or in China or somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and they would sort of ask people to do all these annotations, and they would use that to power their ML and AI systems.
Right.
Startups usually don't have that luxury,
Hmm.
right? So let's say like Playment usually focuses now on self-driving cars because that is where there's a lot of money. That is where AI systems are super critical. Like there's a lot of like there's an insanely minute margin of error, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't like wrongly detect a pedestrian or a stop sign or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a logical market for Playment. And what they did was uh, like small companies, let's say who are making self-driving car uh, for like something which is to be used inside the industry complex, or like a self-driving bus to be used inside a campus or something like that. So like there are hundreds of different use cases, or somebody who's building like smart cameras for these things. So all of them, they need AI.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they do is they give a ton of data to Playment, and with guidelines on how to annotate it. And what Playment would do, it would sort of crowdsource it and sort of guarantee the annotations within the stipulated time, within the cost, and with
Mm.
the accuracy. So
Right.
time, cost, and accuracy were three important things which were sort of like the North Star. And for the companies, it'll be beneficial because they don't need to sort of spin up operation centers. They don't need to hire hundreds of people.
Right.
I talk about annotations. So this is usually when you would get like a scene of a like a road scene, because cameras are placed in front and back of the car and
Right.
other places. Would get that like road ka sequence, and then you have to mark like this is the lane line.
Hmm.
This is the arrow, this is the pedestrian. This pedestrian ka angle is this, or this pedestrian is with a trolley, or
Right.
this pedestrian walking, running, jumping. This is a car, motorcycle, bicycle, and there are different types of annotations. So like it can either be boxes, or it can be polygons,
Hmm.
or it can there are literally things which are called semantic segmentation,
Hmm.
where essentially each and every image, each and every pixel in the image has to be mapped to one of the 25 or 30 classes.
Wow.
So it's either sky or vegetation or this or this or this. So like literally every pixel of the image, right? Like if it is a what if it is an 8 megapixel image, there are how many pixels? I think like kitne 8
8
million or
million.
kitne
Right. 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 I guess 8 million.
but like all of them, they need to be annotated. And like that is, and usme bhi like they would have like 5 pixel idhar udhar ho to theek hai, usse zyada ho to that's an error, that
Wow.
entire image is wrong. So like extremely fine annotations, and this is important because iske alawa you would have accidents, right?
Right. Right. Right.
um,
Right. Right. You're literally
so
basing your self-driving algorithms and all of this in on this data.
exactly, yeah, it's called ground truth.
Hmm. Oh wow.
And that is it's literally called ground truth. And that is how they benchmark their algorithms as well. That is where they sort of find like it's supposed to be like 100% true,
Right.
so
Right.
that find things around it.
This is the benchmark data.
um,
You can't mess around with this. Correct.
exactly. And isme like and this is computer vision, right? Like so we focus mostly on computer vision,
Mm-hmm.
not on, let's say, like natural language processing or text processing or stuff like that. Because isme is somewhere where you need like a lot of human input.
Mm-hmm.
And it is also it's almost like designing, like okay, so going a little bit forward, like how we did this was that we used to have tools,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's say like some company, some self-driving car company gave us कि ये लो कैलिफोर्निया के रोड के 2 million images, and what you have to do is you have to mark all the lane lines as a
Hmm.
polygon, right? Or
Right.
bezier curve type, bezier, like boxes around cars or something like that.
Right.
They would give us like 20-30 page detailed sort of guidelines कि ये बंदा है, ये stop sign है, stop sign red हो तो ये है, वो है
Right.
तो, like this is a parking light, this is a school bus चल रही है तो like it has school buses automatically have a stop sign, I think,
Right.
like वहाँ like the like that in US. So like there are different states, different metadata for each of these things. If the bus is moving, it's different. If the bus is changing lanes, it is different. If it is
Wow.
static, it's different. If somebody is getting out, it is different. Um, So it's super complicated. And what they would do is they would give us data and instructions. Um, what we would do is we would design interfaces for people to solve it.
Hmm.
So it's almost like Figma, right? Because you have a web interface,
Mhm.
जिसमें you make boxes, you annotate it, you mark
Mhm.
this, ki this is that. You like in case of like pixel sort of segmentation, what you would do is you would have tools like brush, yeah, like eraser, yeah, lasso, yeah, इस
Right.
type से almost like Photoshop or Figma in a browser.
Right.
And we would sort of crowdsource it, break it down into different bits, and send it to hundreds of thousands of people across India. So there would be folks who are in tier two, tier three cities. There would be people who are students or stay at home mothers
Mhm.
or like all sorts of people, right, who are working part time, full time. And they would sort of do these tasks, and in return, for correct sort of things that they do, like write annotations,
Mhm.
we would pay them money in the form of Paytm credits or something.
Right.
Um and we would do that at scale, right? So we would leverage this India ka workforce to do all these things. We would sort of do quality checks and all that. And then we would send the data back to the self-driving car company, and they
Right.
would sort of run some tests, do quality checks, and they would sort of use it in their algorithms.
Wow.
So this was the entire chain, and it's like it's pretty complicated because like this is what I've explained you just for images, right? But cars have different sensors. They have radars, they have
Right.
lidars,
Right.
and all of the different sensors have different sort of data. So like lidar is something where you have like a spinning bulb, and it shoots laser lights, and it calculates the distance it takes for the light to come back. So
Mhm.
it creates like a three-dimensional view of the world around it.
Right.
So it's almost like a game, like an Age of Empires or something. You see that this is a tree ka rough shape and all that. And usme you have to do annotation, so you have to like move around, you have to change role pitch here, you have to sort of translate in the 3D space, and then
Wow.
draw a cuboid around a car. And it's insane. Like it's probably some of the most complicated like design problems, because that is almost like designing cinema 4D or Maya in a browser,
Right.
which needs to work for people with bad internet, not so great laptops, which needs to work on a browser. And they don't know these tools, right? They are not designers, they're not
Right.
sort of video editors. So they don't understand like how to use this tool. So it has to be simple also, and it
Wow.
also has to be fast enough so that it because like if it is 1% more efficient, it decreases our cost by 1%, right?
Right.
We
And
have to
that's
pay
direct
them less.
margin. That's direct margin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty insane.
Wow. This is, sounds only like so fascinating. I can imagine like how you were convinced to take hold there, and then you started as a sole designer, and eventually, you grew with the company. And I think we already spoke about the kind of difficult things and challenges that design challenge that were there. But that is also where you started hiring a team, and sort of like started managing a team, and for the first time sort of switched from an IC role to like a
Yeah, yeah.
lead managerial role. And what was that experience like for you?
So so like as the company grew, like slowly, like the surface area of design also grew, right?
Mm,
Like as is normal. Like you would have like you would have to devote a little more time to marketing, you would have to devote a little more time to this and
right.
that, and like products will become more complicated, more nuanced. Like you would start to forget key like why I made this
Yeah.
decision and
Yeah.
like too much to do. And that is when sort of we realize that it's not enough, we need more hands on deck. So we got like an intern first who helped us with a lot of graphic design stuff and visual design, website icons, and other things. And then slowly we realized that we need a full-time person to do this. So we hired somebody else. We also got a product designer to help us with a lot of these things, uh, like especially like client-facing tools and
Mhm.
internal tools. uh, there are annotation tools which are coming up. So like slowly the surface area grew, and because that grew, and I was the person who had like the maximum context of what's going on in design at Playment. So like I was expected to sort of like take these decisions around like whom should we hire, whom should we have as an intern, how should we delegate, what should we do. And it was all sort of completely new for me. So I remember, like, I think at some points I also came to your house. I was like, Siddharth, tell me how to do this, what to do. Like,
Right. Right.
how should you sort of hire somebody, or what should you ask?
Right.
How would you judge? And also, like, stuff around, like, how would you sort of delegate things,
Hmm.
right? Like, would you do it like UI alag, UX alag, or like product alag, product A alag, product B alag, and all
Right.
that. So it, like there are no right answers there. It's just like
Hmm.
what works in that context.
Hmm.
But yeah, so like we did that for a year. Like I did that for a year, and then I slowly realized that there is a lot of, like, I realized that I had more fun being an individual contributor,
Hmm.
where I would be sort of focused on some particular problem,
Hmm.
and I would sort of be expected to design it, and then sort of like push it out, and then get feedback,
Right.
iterate it. Uh, like like as a manager, I think what's different is that you are not designing pixels and screens, but you are essentially designing the engine which designs that. Like you're
Hmm.
designing the team which designs that.
Right. Right.
uh,
Right.
like it comes with different sets of problems. How do you incentivize them, how do you align them, how would you hire people, how would you sort of like work well together, how would you create systems and principles and stuff, which is like very very different than like what you would expect as a designer, what I had been doing earlier. And like at that time I thought that was the only way to grow. Like
Hmm.
at that time I genuinely thought that if I want to become a better designer,
Hmm.
then, or if I want to go ahead in my career, I need to do that.
Hmm.
That I need to sort of manage people, I need to hire people, and all that. Now I don't agree with that so much,
Right.
and like done that, I realize that it's like it's definitely a very high leverage thing, right?
Hmm.
Because you are effectively um, working on, like, let's say, like 10x more things, uh, by properly aligning people, incentivizing them, and then having all these things. But I didn't enjoy it as much,
Hmm.
and I realized that I had more fun doing small things, and building things on my own,
Hmm.
like diverging in the sense that, like, I would love to do design and then develop that thing as well, and then look a little bit into marketing,
Hmm.
and then sort of do a little bit of product management. So all these context switches around one particular thing, that is what I enjoyed the most.
Right.
And like, as a manager, you can't do it, like you can't do it hands on. You are
Hmm.
expected to sort of guide, or manage or mentor people.
Hmm.
So that is there. But like lately I've started realizing that it's like that's not the, like, managing, like moving from IC to managerial role, it's not the only way to grow
Correct.
at all.
In fact, it shouldn't even be called growth. It should be called a switch, if at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because you have a
that
growth
that
path
is
separate there and your growth path separate here. Like, and thankfully now
mm,
industry is recognizing with lead designers and principal architect and for principal UX architect and all those roles coming up finally. W-
yeah,
weren't there earlier.
true. And I think, like, it's extremely important that these things come up, and like it's yeah, it's super important, and it also helps. Like, we do not know very good IC designers in India,
Mm-hmm.
like people who are like doing only individual work
Mm-hmm.
and great individual work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would look at something, you would see something, and you would like blown away.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think that is much rarer to find as compared to great design managers in India.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy that this switch is happening,
You're
and
right.
hopefully we'll see like really good, really great IC designers.
Right. We already see them. They're just not very vocal. So hope more of them come out and we are able to interview them on this channel. Speaking of this channel, if you hit that like button, we get more people who can watch this interview live and join us. And Dhanal, this is so interesting because you start with design and then you get into coding and then you move on to pick up getting it involved in AI and like data visualization. All these things trickle down, and like if I remember, like your personal projects have always been fascinating, and that's what you kind of like switched into. And they've always revolved around this, right? Like they've always revolved around data, design, behavior, visualization, and these things just keep coming back. I remember like you posting first ever before like I anyone knew like like what these wearables were. You had an Aura ring, which I think you're still wearing, and
Yeah, this one.
yeah, like a gyroscope app that I like finally subscribed to after ages. And you made a nice post about your yearly stats on like how you looked at that data from these different, like that was data visualization. And then we see you were working on a finance app in between, if I remember correctly, which was again like picking and passing data and looking at financial discussion. And I remember us talking about long back about that as well. And then like now
Mhm.
we recently saw Spell come out, like right, and tons of other tool, which of course you will find, all of you folks will find on the Dhvanil's website, which is linked in the description. So like like what is the story with a personal project? Like let's talk about Spell first. Like what is Spell about, in brief, and like how do you come up with these, how why these, and like what is happening?
True. So I mean, yeah. So I think like pretty late, but I've realized that this is what I enjoy doing. Right. Like I worked at big company. I've worked at like a startup. I've tried to sort of do things individually. I've tried a little bit at like managing designers and
Mm-hmm.
everything. But I've realized that working on these sort of small individual projects end to end is what excites me the most.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally like the joy of building things. Like it's not even like, even if like nobody saw them, even if nobody appreciated them, I would just enjoy building them so much.
Mm-hmm.
uh and like it's a yeah, I think it's just like once you build things, you start getting addicted to it. Like to be
Right.
like I think that's the only way to describe it. Like
It's a
it's
dopamine
super
hit,
hard for
right?
things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. And like there are these feedback loops which sort of keep on getting closed, right? You know how to design, so you can sort of translate ideas or words to pixels,
Right.
and then you know how to sort of develop things, and then you can translate that pixel to code, and then actual sort of something, an interface on a screen.
Right.
So then like you have like a complete-ish feedback loop. Then you learn how to do marketing and sales, and then you can see if people pay for that, and then you close that feedback loop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think once you do these things, like once I did these things individually, uh like I realized a lot of interesting things. And like it's a yeah, I think like the only way to put it is it's super addictive.
Right.
Spell is, so yeah, I'll talk a little bit about Spell. It is something which me and Tarun, who's a friend of mine who works who's the CTO at Icon Scout, at he and me, we worked on it. So what it usually does is it generates. So I mean, okay, so I'll describe it this way. Like we humans are extremely good at sort of uh, describing what we want, or giving
Mm-hmm.
feedback, or sort of course correcting or iterating. But we are, like for example, like if you look at some portfolio, you can very well say, Ki, this is wrong, this is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
typography is this is that, this is that. And given another option, you can very quickly say, Ki, hey, yeah, this is better, this is wrong, this is better, but change this, do that. So like we are very good at sort of course correcting and giving feedback and doing these iterative changes. But we are not so good at sort of, for example, given a design or given a essay, like let's say, should designers code, like
Mm-hmm.
write 10 viewpoints about that.
Right.
Like yes they should, maybe they shouldn't,
Right.
no they definitely shouldn't,
Right.
yes they should. Like I'm pretty sure you can't, right? It's super difficult to sort of jump laterally into different things.
Right.
And that is something which happens very frequently if you're trying to write,
Right.
right? Like especially B2B or B2C sort of content writing.
Right.
uh, so like you need to see like, hey, I've written it this way, what if we write it conversationally,
Right.
what if we like write it like interrogatively.
Right.
uh, and in general there's obviously like lots of content to write if you look at like content marketers.
I mean,
So like
hi.
ad copy creation. Yeah, true, right? Like for let's say, like if you had a tool which just put in Dhvanil,
Right.
who's a designer for this, and Siddharth, and we are having a chat, and if you
Right.
put this in,
Right.
it will generate a YouTube description for you.
Right.
Uh, it'll pull in concepts which are sort of developer means that he does development, and like he uses JavaScript and all that. So
Right.
like it leverages is GPT-3, which is a new sort of AI engine
Right.
released by Open, and they have sort of surfaced it as an API. So you hit
Right.
an API and it responds intelligently to
Right.
whatever your prompt is. So if you're given like five examples of this is a good description, this is a good description, this is a good description,
Right.
then it can generate good descriptions for you. There's a little art and a little science to how you sort of prime it and prompt it,
Mm-hmm.
but it works well in a lot of cases, and it's
Right.
super good at generating believable sort of blurbs of text.
Right.
So spell is all of that in the context of content marketing.
Right.
So in the context of ad copy, blog outline, emails, etc. So we are trying to figure out what use cases are the most critical and what industries are the most critical where they would use this. But yeah, in general, that's what it does. And it's like we are also trying some super interesting things. For example, if you have, let's say, some like usually content writing में ऐसा होता है like Siddharth uh, like podcast host and designer at head out. This
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't work. Like what would work is King Siddharth, amazing podcast writer. Like if you superlative, if you like make everything superlative, it usually works better. Like best discounts, best deals.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
like we're also thing where you sort of style transfer things. Like
Mm.
if you have a same piece of text, can you sort of make it superlative? Can you make it formal? Like if you want to put that in a white paper,
Mm.
you would change it to third person,
Mm.
that hey, spell works in the domain of content marketing, it helps companies, blah blah blah.
Right.
Whereas if you put it on website, spell is the best tool for
Mm.
something. So like that sort of a thing we are trying, and a lot of things you can do around text and sort of
Wow.
writing in general. So
I would love to use it for my website. For my, I've already applied for beta. I'm waiting to get metadata for my YouTube videos, etc., etc. Like, I would love to feed it a YouTube video and sort of get a description out, or like whatever. Like, like throw in one description, give me two, three styles to show it. Like for Instagram, for YouTube, for LinkedIn. LinkedIn versus Instagram, if you can give me, I will be very happy. Like LinkedIn, you know how we show off, etc. And Instagram,
okay.
like, so yeah.
But that's I'll like once things are a little more polished, I'll send you a link.
Yeah,
Like
I'm happy to use whatever tool right now you have. You know that. I'm happy to use, except the finance tool, which I needed advanced version. I'm happy to use whatever tool you have.
actually अभी ऐसा है कि like they it's like they have a lot of restrictions around how you can sort of deploy it in production, because
Right.
it is also something that can very easily be misused.
Right.
Like for it can also generate like descriptions for like wrong things, right? Which
Hmm.
you wouldn't want. So that's why like they have a series of checks and balances and sort of review process and all of that. And after that, like I think I'll be like I really want to share it with people to get feedback and sort of
Right.
iterate on it.
Cool. Cool. Awesome. Speaking of GPT-3, I think we just sort of talked about, we've spoken about on this channel before this on this topic, but I think you are the most relevant person who will have the most context on this question. We're already seeing, some of us saw the GPT-3 on Figma generating design, right? Screens
Yeah.
within seconds. And like that gave heart attack to like half the designer world. Like literally, that's what I get paid for, right? And I've been discussing that for a while. Like, like we drawing rectangles is not what you can get paid for anymore. Like something can always
Yeah.
draw faster and better rectangles than you. Decision making, alignment, and all those human thing which are like multidimensional, which are even hard to abstract out in or model out, are the ones that you get paid for. That's been my opinion so far. But what is you have worked on now GPT-3 thing. You have been a designer. Like, what do you think is future of design with this kind of AI tools coming in?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good question, and I've been thinking a lot about it lately as well, because it also directly affects what I do, right? Like
Right.
I design sometimes, and I do it for consulting projects, etc. So इसमें the interesting thing, which I think like GPT-3 made people realize, is that language and code are similar, right?
Hmm.
Like natural language models, which work on English, Hindi, Spanish, French, etc., etc. They would also work very well on code, because code is nothing but like logical representation of something,
Mm-hmm.
of a like of it's a set of instructions. which in a sense is also language, because you have things like, what comes before, what comes after, how is things related. You have syntax and, variables and stuff like that. So like, people realize that they can use GPT-3 to generate good
Hmm.
JSON snippets, everything, and then you can use it to sort of generate things. So in that plugin that I made, right, so it does the exact same thing. It takes in texts, it generates some sort of an schema or a representation of what the
Right.
user wants, uses Figma to sort of plot it to make it.
Right.
So and I think, like, you are absolutely right in saying that, like, rectangles, like drawing rectangles or making these tiny things
Mm-hmm.
or text changes or yevo, that is not what designers are paid for. And that is, like, it seems to me that it's increasingly likely to be automated
Mm-hmm.
soon. And it can definitely happen in very creative ways. Like, for example, you can sort of like an like great case examples of this would be like, you design, like, say, one screen, and then you say that, convert this screen into a very formal vibe, or convert this screen to be similar to Airbnb,
Hmm.
or something like that, or change colors, or use generative design to sort of like
So
generate
many
variations of
iterations,
it.
iterations via AI.
There could also be things around some, like, this is what we are talking strictly in UI design, right?
Hmm.
So you can also have things like client saying ki, like, make it pop.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you have things like change the font to be more formal, yeah, ye kadak, yeah, ye jo bhi hai.
Right.
And then you can use GPT-3 to sort of like link it ki, like, formal font is Bodoni, so
Right.
formal, classy, stylish, all these fonts will be Bodoni. So you can sort of like literally have, let's say, a good example would be to have an Alexa app or something
Hmm.
which records what you were saying in a meeting, and then you can live say कि, like, talk to Figma कि, hey, nahi, ye font nahi chalega, isko stylish banao, so it'll change that design automatically and do all
Hmm.
that. So I think in general, like, UI design mein those sort of things can happen. There could also be stuff around, let's say, I want a payment checkout flow. So I design the first screen, I design the last screen. It generates sort of iterations between them. Either
Hmm.
you have a modal and then do this, either you do this, either you have
So I
a
don't have to spend
like
time
a.
doing redundant work. I just go and choose what I want.
So I think that is there. Like, the thing which I find a little scary is that, since it is like really good at generating other stuff, right? So for example, generating insights, you can feed in like hundreds of Reddit ke, like, let's say you're designing a a mixer or
Hmm.
like an oven. Let's say you're designing an oven, and oven mein kya kya problems hai. So you can feed in like Reddit ka community data, like Amazon reviews and all that, and it can very well say ki, like, these are the key main problems.
Mm-hmm.
So like it also, like, you can feed in like podcast interviews, or sorry, user research interviews, and then it can generate insights from that.
Hmm.
And that is usually what we thought was very human designerish.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like it's a very human thing, right?
Hmm.
But if something like that can do things very well, much faster, right? Like, for you to go through like 10-hour video audio transcripts of an
Hmm.
user research session, it'll be complicated. But if it can do it at much lesser time, and if it can generate like 10-15 variations, and you just have to pick ki, this feedback looks the
More
best or
closest to
something.
more reasonable to what we want to present.
Yep, yep.
Then I
So I
think then the
think, like,
designer job will become to justify why did you pick this one.
huh, as long as, yeah, yeah, that is there.
Look at the relief on Dhvanil's face. He has found the answer. We're not getting out of job anytime soon.
But and like, it is. Yeah, so I think, like, I'm actually more interested to see what happens in the non, like, see, so UI design चीजों में तो obviously people will use it. It's
Hmm.
the most straightforward
Hmm.
sort of application. But like these second order things, or like which are like insights generation, yeah, yeah. Like, there was this one very interesting project which I saw. Ki, like, you, like, it uses GPT-3 to make a persona, right? So what it does is, there's a banda, usko, like, it provides educational qualifications, years and university, and it generates description, photo, and everything. And then you can converse with that persona,
Wow.
because, yeah, so let's say, like, you created a persona who's like a Google and a Facebook employee, and you can talk with them. Hey, what problems do you face in Google? Or hey, what happens here? What happens this? And because on the other hand, you have GPT-3, which is which has crawled basically the entire internet and he knows everything, right? So it can generate factual, I mean, not factually correct, but seemingly correct answers, which probably even a Google employee would say.
Right.
Um, so I think this is like these sort of like interesting new applications, they would be super insane. Like you can
Wow.
have like 5 robotic personas around the office, and every time you have a problem कि यार इतना app performance enough है नहीं, you can just go and talk to him.
और ये will the customer buy it or not, just show to the customer and गाली वहीं पे खा लो. Like you wouldn't have to wait to actually गाली खाओ from the customer. The artificial
Yeah.
persona will give you the gali that you need. That is fascinating.
This is actually like one of the demos I saw recently. So it's like there's this thing called Pioneer.
Hmm.
They have these interesting demos and things going on. So usme I saw this one guy build this, which was something I didn't expect at all. It's a super creative application of something
Right.
like this.
That is
Yeah.
indeed like to create a person out of that. Like it's just crazy. Like I would love it for research. Like I have
Uh,
infinite user research whenever I want without scheduling anything. And
you
you
can
could
talk for days, like literally days.
wow, that is just insane. That brings us to one of our last few questions, and in if we have time, then we will take up some questions from the chat as well. But like
Sure.
we have our own so many questions that we haven't covered through. This brings me to like one of the superpowers that sounds like in building things, and I understand like builders um have and as an entrepreneurial and business builder mindset, you sort of get addicted to building stuff that you're
Yeah, yeah,
talking
yeah.
about. But at the same time, like being able to build things, like being able to code, is an important part. How important do you think that is? How difficult do you think that is? And in light of the no code software and waves that keep coming, it's not the first no code software wave. We have seen Dreamweaver and all. What do you think? How important it is? Like, what should I or should I not like? Is it compulsory? Not if I'm interested, how difficult it's gonna be?
Yeah. So I mean, I think like because I have lived through knowing code, knowing how to code myself, like my answers would be super biased. But I very strongly think it is an amazing skill set to have, to know how to sort of uh, to how to actualize designs from just pixels.
Right.
uh, I think being able to do that, that is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are able to do that through coding, that is good. If you're able to use these no code tools to sort of push things and like sort of make things live, to productize things, that is great as well. And like I've seen like a lot of people build insane businesses, side projects, uh, like even internal tools on top of these no code tools. And it's 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 definitely like I think that is a good way to start, uh, because like shorter the feedback loops, the more incentive you have to learn, the more motivated you remain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're learning, let's say, about APIs, and you're not doing anything, you're literally just reading things and reading documentation and everything, it doesn't help. You'll get frustrated, you'll get burnt out super fast. But with no code, you can just like change some things, move some pixels around, put some things, connect some APIs, use Zapier and do things, and then you can build a good CMS powered website.
Hmm.
So cool. Like that'll I think like this needs to be sort of addressed in the sense that how do you sort of structure your learning in the sense that it can push you farther. So like using no codes would be a good way to begin.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you sort of hit some places where it's not possible
Mm-hmm.
to make something without coding, or if there's some animation that you can't do on Webflow,
Right.
or is it so then you probably start learning sort of some JavaScript or jQuery or Vue or something.
Right.
But I think like it is super important to have the complete visibility of things, like actuating that pixels. I think it's like if you do it, you realize that how different I used to think about problems before.
Mm-hmm. It gives you a new mental model sort of to understand the world.
Exactly.
A new way to talk to computer. Like, computer I can ask computer to do this and it'll do it, fundamentally speaking.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Uh,
And I think like we'll also probably see like these tools fusing like design and development. It's like if you think about it, they're not so different, right? Because like one is like design essentially is like the why and the what to build, and the development is how to build.
right.
And uh, and and like it seems to me that you have to sort of tackle all these questions together, like
Hmm.
why, what, and only because how also affects what to build. Like
Hmm.
if you
Hmm.
can't build something, then there's no point brainstorming about it.
Right.
So if you have that complete knowledge, it's definitely helpful. And also like our tools will become that way. Like Figma will evolve in a few years to output app designs or websites or something like directly.
Right.
uh, Maybe GPT-3 powered or not, or maybe something else. But it seems like Framer, for example, does a very good job at bringing like design and code together.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Almost like the missing
so
intermediary step, like this was the missing piece where you
yeah,
could
yeah,
actually start designing the around this thing first and then move on and add the later pieces.
exactly. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. So, for sure, and what is the easiest way for if any suggestions on how to get started on learning it?
Or I would probably recommend like doing something which has like super fast feedback loops. So it's like for example, like if you are building some project,
Hmm.
it is very good. Like if you have an idea in mind, then your sole goal is to implement that, and you will probably do whatever it takes, no code, yes code, low code, whatever, to push that out, right?
Right.
And you do that, it motivates you to do things even more. And like if you have a project in mind, then I think if you don't know any coding, then like low code or no code is definitely better.
Right.
uh, yeah, I mean, like like thinking of it as a means to an end
Hmm.
obviously helps. Like I want to build this, I want to launch this project, and that is why I need to sort of do whatever it takes, learn this, learn that, even get a developer, talk with him, like tell him to explain his code and everything.
Hmm.
And once you do that sufficient number of times, like for example, I've done that for like some of the initial side projects I had, they're simply displaying data on a website,
Hmm.
super static, nothing happens, simple website with simple data. Then later on, once I was confident in that, I could sort of think about implementing like user authentication or a database. Then once I did that, I realized that this is simple, like it's a means to an end. So now I built a mobile app,
Hmm.
which was again super simple because it uses the same concepts, and I'm confident that I'll be able to do that myself.
Right. Right. Awesome, awesome. Sounds awesome. And just before we move to the last question on this entire thing, thank you, Dinesh Senapati, for that super chat. He says, keep it up. And I'll send you the Parleji, Dhwanil. And coming to the last thing, freelancing, freelancing, you've been freelancing. And how do you, I think one of the things I want to ask, uh, there's a tons of question around freelancing we can ask, but how do you find projects, and especially if you are working in a very niche kind of project which doesn't have a lot of
Sure.
precedence, how do you price it?
Sure. So that's a good question, and like usually I have like since I've quit Playment, since the last 1 year, I've been doing a lot of design consulting, freelance projects,
Hmm.
to essentially like fund myself, right? Roti kapda,
Right.
and like the other time I have, I devoted to sort of side projects
Right.
and sort of building new things. So freelance may, I think, like in like when we talk about getting new projects,
Right.
right? So I think there are three ways to do that.
Right.
One is you use these platforms, right? Upwork or Freelancer
Right.
or other places, where it's almost like an Uber like platform, right? Because they have some fixed granular requirement,
Hmm.
कि like ये logo चाहिए, yeah, like similar to how Uber I want to go from this point to this point, and then there is some pricing, and like different people will sort of compete for that, and then eventually you will deliver that project and you'll get paid. So
Right.
that is one way. The other way would be to sort of use your own network to find projects outside these platforms.
Hmm.
So let's say like you would need something to be done for your personal project,
Hmm.
and then you would sort of contact some designer who would be able to help you out.
Right. Right.
So like you both can negotiate, you can sort of decide the terms and fix the price and everything
Mm-hmm.
like individually outside these
Mm-hmm.
platforms. um, and I think the third way would be to sort of have people reach out to you.
Hmm.
So like if you have a good enough personal brand, so first way is like having some platform, second is you reaching out to people, and the third way is people reaching out to you,
Right.
right? So first two are outbound, the last one is inbound.
Mm-hmm.
Where like you have done something really good, you have worked in an industry, you know B2B very well,
Right.
you have designed a lot of tools, you've written about it, people know about it. So whenever some company, somebody needs it, they know that Dhwanil, we should
Right.
we should ask if Dhwanil. In my like it like all these things, it depend on sort of what you are doing, how much do you want new projects,
Mm-hmm.
how like what's your time frame, how quickly do you want it, at what stage in the career you are. But I've generally noticed it starts from the first thing where
Mm-hmm.
you sort of like do a lot of inbound
Mm-hmm.
and then do a lot of outbound, and then slowly, like once you have done projects, people refer, people talk about your projects, then it switches to sort of people reaching out to you directly.
Right. Right.
uh, like one interesting hack which I did. So like after the internship at Instamojo, I saw everybody using Macs there, right? So
Right.
I was like, I also have MacBook. And then I decided that I'm still in college. What I'll do is I'll do some freelance projects
Right.
just to earn enough to get a new MacBook.
Right.
And fair, like if you approach it like even outbound, if you approach methodologically, it's pretty nice, because what I did was I went to 500 startups and YC ka list,
Mm-hmm.
saw kitne startups ko fund kiya hai. I again made a big list. I like all of their hi at XYZ emails and their co-founder वगैरह के emails.
Right.
I just emailed like 20 of them ki like, hey, I'm a designer, I can help you, blah blah blah. And that is how I found some of the internships and like freelance projects. And yeah, and that helped me get a new MacBook. But
Wow.
I think like if you also do an outbound, that is an interesting way to do. Like
Right.
make a list of the startups which you think would need design, or just like draft a little personalized email that, hey, I looked at your website, maybe I can make it a little better, something like that. And just like it's a function of outbound is just a function of how well you reach out to people
Right.
and how many people you reach out to.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. That is brilliant. That is brilliant. Love that framework. I hope Janta enjoyed it, and Janta, if you enjoyed it, let's have Dhwanil OP in the chat, and we're gonna give him a break to have quick sip of water while I come to your questions, all the questions that we have. And meanwhile, Dhwanil, a quick question: which is the native language that you speak? Hindi,
Gujarati.
Gujarati. So there would be definitely some Gujarati audience, like somewhere in the world right now or later watching. Give us a message, nice message in Gujarati, Dhwanil, please.
I'm usually uh, I that is so difficult. Wow, I didn't expect it. But I don't speak in Gujarati so much, to be honest, except for like speaking with family. But cam cho XYZ, whoever is it who's listening, and I hope तुमने आज सामने मजा आई.
Awesome. And just tell them to like, share, and
I was
subscribe in Gujarati.
like पसंद नहीं क्या होता है गुजराती में.
No, just do not forget to
So
like, share, and subscribe. That in Gujarati. So like, share, and subscribe. You can use the same word, but do not forget.
and like share subscribe करवाना भूलता नहीं.
Awesome, awesome. We have Dhanil OP happening in chat, and I have Madhuri was saying hi. Nice to see you here, Madhuri. Say hi if you're still around. And Talk to Me says, "What's your review on ISDI Mumbai?" I'm not sure if do you have any opinion on
What is
ISDI
IS?
Mumbai? I don't know. It's some design college, I'm guessing. Uh,
Actually, I have zero.
right.
No.
Question to both of you: do you ever had second thoughts about diving into field of design? Okay, I don't know what that means. What were some of the moments that require you to have faith in your decision to pursue this career? Yeah. Were there any points where you felt like you need faith more than evidence? Like we already spoke about feedback loops, but were there any times where
Mhm.
you were like, no, like I need to have faith in myself and I can do it?
I think that was like once I quit Playment, right? Like
Right.
it was like because once you have like if you have a full time job, you have this steady stream of, let's say, like income
Hmm.
or steady stream of money which is deposited to your bank every end of the month.
Hmm.
Like after I quit Playment, I was like really jittery. Ki, like what will happen? Can people find me?
Hmm.
Like this was like like this was the first time I had freelanced in like years.
Right.
Last time was to get that MacBook money, right?
Right.
So so like that was when I was really scared, and it was also scary because like if you are doing freelance, you also have to worry about pricing and all the other things, right? You're selling your services, and then like all these other things which come, which you don't have to think so much when you are working at a full-time role.
Right.
So I used to think a lot about ki, like how many dollars per hour should I charge,
Hmm.
how many hours should I work, if I don't work, do I have enough savings, can I travel or not, worst case what happens. And
Right.
like it used to be pretty stressful, I'm not gonna lie, like for the beginning of the few months. But after that, like now, like that I have done this, I know how to do this.
Hmm.
It's it's so easy. It has become so easy,
Right.
and like the amount of freedom that you get, it's like uncomparable. Like I can decide to just work for 2 days a week and then chill for the rest time, or like work on GPT-3 or other projects, and it wouldn't matter, right?
Right.
Because I know ki, like I don't have to work for the next 2 months because I have enough, or I have saved enough, or I've done this. So you can sort of, you have these switches and knobs which are super fascinating. Like if you don't
Right.
like this project, just like at the end of the month, stop it, like get a new project, do something. So like that is super fun. Plus you
Right.
can sort of work from anywhere, do anything.
Right.
But I think initially it was like super scary.
Right, right. Awesome, awesome. And like, don't do not tempt. All I was gonna say was, do not tempt me, Frodo Baggins. I might use consultation to do good, but through me, it will yield a power unimaginable. Then we see another question. Did your IIT degree help in you getting internship, or was it all about your portfolio?
Oh no, 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 no! I think IIT degree definitely helped. Like I think even Instamojo mein, you guys were happy because somebody from IIT applied, right?
Of course,
Uh,
any who isn't happy that like, IIT kid is applying? You're like, oh, nice, we have arrived. IIT kids are applying.
and like to be very honest, at those times, right? Like none of the things in my portfolio would probably have stood me out. Like I didn't do great work though, and yeah. So I think it definitely helps to jumpstart things. Like I'm
Hmm.
not gonna lie, even like a lot of network and a lot of connections, and like even now some of the freelance projects I get, they would be recommended by some alumni, somebody somewhere.
Right.
So it definitely helps. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. There you go. I hope that helps. Priyam, Shivam says your Dhvanil super cool work on GPT-3 plugin. Love seeing your side projects, Dhvanil. Dinesh says good job with spell. And Dinesh is the one who has sent us a super chat. This says IC designer. They were all confused about IC designers. It would be great if the person can do the usability test. This one is about the creating the user persona. Chinmay says. Abhilasha Malhotra says, I'm amazed by the possibilities of applications with this technology. Talking about GPT-3. Smarnika says, but even the no code software needs code to build it. For sure, Smarnika. Of course, of course. They,
Somebody has to, yeah, same. Like even the GPT-3 plugins, like somebody will build it.
yeah.
So there are like there is an interesting. I'll share a link later, but it talks about like software development and how it's changing. So there are like there is an old way of software development, which is software development 1.0, and there is a new way. The new way is a GPT-3 sort of a way, right?
Right,
Because like in because you define logic, you say that this is a business function, this is an if else statement, this is a function, this is a array, this is that, and then it does something for you. It's a set of codified rigid instructions. uh, a new way, like this is not something like it's something that has been around for a while, and there are some very interesting articles on them.
mm,
The new way is to throw in a bunch of data, and then it identifies patterns from it.
mm.
The new way is how you would teach a kid, right? कि like वहां जाना गंदा है, ये ऐसा है, वो ऐसा है,
Or just
do
keep
this,
speaking the
press this
language
button.
to them till they start picking up patterns.
Exactly. And now that they can understand English, like literally, like I think in a few years we'll have like something where you describe your problem well enough and it builds it for you.
Right.
So like describing and then sort of articulating, having these input data very well sorted, that is the new way to
Ooh.
develop things. Like
That means superpower.
there's an yeah. Like that is what like like as a designers, like you do that well, right? Like that is what you are paid for, like to articulate a problem, to define
I mean,
something,
hypothetically, yeah.
to yeah. But
That is fascinating, though. That blows my mind, Dhvanil, because if you think about it, even today, the superpower is in your hand, which is internet. But being able to search the internet for the right answer while you're coding or learning something, you can learn to build like anything. You can learn to build a spaceship if you really desire so, right? Online, like
yep.
there's enough resources available if you're willing to put in the work. But the again, the input is important. Like, where do you begin? How do you search? What do you search? How do you verify? How do you build? And that input skill still is like making people outshine in the internet economy, and in the AI economy it looks like that's gonna just multiply.
Yeah, it's like because execution will be like it's easier. Like simple execution is easier. Like making a website is easier than ever before. Making a
But
mobile app
thinking what
is
you want to
easier.
build is more difficult than ever before, right?
So this is where I think like the role of designers will change a little bit. Like maybe move a little bit closer to product management or something
Right.
like that.
I
But
help you decide what to design.
yeah,
Fascinating.
or like choose generated designs.
Right. That is my favorite. That is my like one of that is when my mind blown got blown in. So Praja, if your mind also got blown with this entire session, write mind blowing OP in the chat. Let's have some. Let's show some appreciation. Let's show some love. Let's hit that like button. Let's write mind blowing OP in the chat. Anshul says, "Hi Dhvanil, huge fan from Twitter." And Chetty Arun is here. Finally, we see Chetty Arun. Hi, hey Sid, ask Dhvanil if he will join us at Razorpay one day. Dhwanil has I think covered the freedom aspect already, but I will let you two take it forward from here. I think I've done my role by just communicating that question over. I will let you two take it forward. This poaching around business in Twitter DMs. And yeah, thank you so much, Dhwanil, for coming over. I hope you had a good time. I hope you had a I mean, I had like amazing time. I'm like just charged up, and I want to go back to code. I'm like, let's build things. Let's build things. That's we're doing a like series of live stream on like building my personal brand, and I'll be using some no code tools and maybe like fetching using Airtable like DB2. So I'll be bothering you for pinging you about tools and review, of course. And I
Definitely.
hope to see you back on the channel. Also, we started a new series on the channel which is just discussing industry news. Like we like twice a month just take up news articles like GPT-3 and a case study factory was one of the, and gonna invite you already when you while you're on the live stream, so you can't say no. And if Janta, we should have Dhvanil again, say again in the chat, and we will have for sure Dhvanil again. And the last thing before any other message, the last message you want to give to our audience, Dhvanil, that you want to say.
I just realized I can also comment here, so I did.
Oh yes, Dhvanil has
But
is the first one to say Dhvanil again.
uh, I mean, I don't know. That's a pretty like it's. I think it's just like any other message. I mean, I would just say like build something. Like the process of building something is just so much fun. And like if you are sort of uh, and like I think it's also like pretty cool if you can design your life around freedom, like the freedom to sort of do anything, work anywhere, travel anywhere, sort of work on any project.
Right.
And it seems to me that it's pretty doable in this time and age. And if you do that, I think it
Audience would have lost you again. You might have to speak the last sentence again. Sorry, Dhvanil.
wait, yeah, okay, all right. So I think like you were just asking me like what would you sort of tell people, right? So I think one would be to just like build something, like whatever. It's just so easy to build things, and there's just so much joy in sort of building something. Like it's literally where the feedback loops are super close, right? Like it's not even like design because you don't have to talk to somebody. Like you literally push a button, do something, write a small if else statement,
Right.
it works.
Right.
Like it's like it's the fastest dopamine rush you can get,
Right.
like to be very frank. And like it's the same with design as well. Like you rearrange something and then you see something and it works good. So
Right. When the
like
pixels align, aha, the relief.
yeah, so yeah, I think like like and it doesn't even matter if it has been built hundreds of thousands of times before. It's
Right.
just like because you are building it, you'll have your own sort of way to look at it, and you'll have fun.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Dhwanil. Love this session. It was mind blowing for me. I'm going to have you back over again. And before
Sure.
Janta goes away, Janta, a special announcement for all of you. Uh, Memberships. You can join the memberships. You can become a member of the YouTube channel. Some of these live stream that we are doing, including the one we did yesterday with Hardik, will become member only after 24 hours before, and eventually will make it through as highlight videos, as edits, and you can become members. Like I've tried to bring it as down as cheaply as possible down. So, and you will also get to be part of the Discord group. You can join Discord for free anyway. You can join that Telegram group as well, or you can of course support by becoming a member and getting to spam on like you will see all the jazz of all what you get the rewards in when you click that join button. That was a new announcement. Pretty excited about that. And Dhwanil, hope to see you. Gonna see you once again. Once again, can't thank you enough. Follow the link to Dhwanil's website is in the description. Don't forget to follow him on Twitter. He's mostly active there. What other place do you prefer people to follow you, Dhwanil, other than Twitter? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I think Twitter is probably best. Like that's where I post the most, so you can see
Right.
like what I'm up to there.
Anything else you wanna plug? Your consultation services? Anything else? Hire me for XYZ. Whatever you wanna plug.
Sign up,
Sorry, sorry.
sign up for the B. Yeah,
Yes, yes. Sign up.
if
I'm gonna leave the link in the
uh,
description once this goes like finish.
and probably share it with your content marketing people or friends
Right.
if they would probably like a service like this.
Send it to your marketing
But
team.
I'm
Send
sure.
it to your marketing team. Send. I'm gonna put that link and copy that and send it to your marketing. They're gonna love it, and Vanilla is gonna have sign up. So thank you once again. Don't forget to hit that like button, and good night, Shabak Khair, and Shubh Ratri.
Bye.